Hi, everybody. This is Uncle Hondo, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer for Sports Illustrated, the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, joined now by a man, longtime friend. I love him dearly. We've competed against each other. We have been friends. He's a man who is a great veteran of our country. I'm so proud to call him my friend, and I've said this many times, and I'm not ashamed of it. I think he is one of the best beat writers in all of America. Former president of the Football Writers Association. I can go on and on, but he is the Georgia Bulldogs beat writer covering that Georgia football team and all of that talent for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I'm just proud to call him my buddy. He's been on here before. Glad to have him back. You've seen him on the Paul Feinbaum Show, the great Mike Griffith. Hi, buddy.
That's quite an introduction, Hondo. Much appreciated. I don't know about how much competition I was to you, but we certainly had a lot of things to write about for 4 years at Michigan State. I don't know that Michigan State will ever have another 4 years like that or have two great beat writers like us.
Well, what I love about you is your life's in order. Your favorite titles are Grandpa and Dad. And I love that about you, Mike, and veteran. So I want to dig in. The Raiders didn't see a scenario where Brock Bowers would fall to them. Many in the NFL considered him among the top three safest picks, that there was no risk with this guy. He can do it all. He can block like an offensive lineman, and he loves it. He can run like a wide receiver. He does it all. Mike, you covered him every day of his career at Georgia. Break him down for us, would you?
Well, I mean, I literally wrote that the guy was Superman. I mean, you just can't believe it when it defies the logic, right? Because when you look at Brock, you don't see some, hulking, large, apparently dominant figure out there, and yet no one catches him. No one tackles him one-on-one. His catch radius is just Randy Moss-like, which sounds crazy till you look at the highlights. The body control, Hondo, there's a play called The Matrix. And I would encourage Raider fans to Google Brock Bowers Matrix, Ohio State, where he catches a fourth down pass and he's seemingly going to go out of bounds short of the marker. And he's able to contort his body in a way and keep a hand in bounds and extend the ball. And you're just like, it really looked like something out of the movie The Matrix. It's just his teammates. This is not an exaggeration. I mean, it's just, you can't say enough about the guy. I'm going to say it. They don't believe he's real. Like they think this guy's like some computer generated figure because the things that he does, the way that he moves defies logic. It's not supposed to happen. When you see him open it up in the open field and a safety has an angle and suddenly Brock Bowers hits a gear that's not supposed to be there. It's almost like, and I've said this, and I've told his mom this too. If I'm marketing Brock Bowers, this is what I'm doing. I'm telling Nike to make a high top black leather cleat, solid black, and I'm calling him the natural. He looks like a throwback from the Red Grange Jim Thorpe era that just, you remember how you see that grainy old footage and these guys just dominate the competition. Mm-hmm. It looks like somebody took that out of the 19 whatever leather helmet era and put it into today's era, and the guy just plays great football. But beyond that, as a person, all he wants to do is play ball. He really does. I mean, I've interviewed him countless times. We've asked him countless questions, and it comes back to football every time. He's not going to say anything controversial because he doesn't think controversial. He just wants to play ball and compete. So I'll give you an anecdote that Kirby Smart shared about Brock Bowers. So Georgia, with his great success, and one of the reasons that they had great success was that Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator for Georgia. And of course, Todd, now the offensive coordinator with the Baltimore Ravens, very creative mind. And he was basically Todd Monken's Frankenstein. We're going to run him on end rounds. We're going to run him on short routes. We're going to run him deep. We're going to run him on screens. We're going to line him up in the backfield and hand it off. Monken just had a field day with this guy. So Georgia naturally is able to recruit some of the best tight ends in the nation because they all want to be the next Brock Bowers. Well, what these guys did in the offseason workouts, some of these young guys, 2 or 3 of them, they run these 100-yard sprints in the offseason and they race. They want to beat Brock. Nobody can beat Brock. So what they do is they start trying to game the system. One of the young guys runs as fastest, the other one lays back. Then they flip it on the way back because they're trying to tire Brock out so one of them can beat him in the sprint. Kirby says he watches it. It doesn't happen. This is a Kirby Smart story. These young guys literally tried to game him so that one of them could beat him in the 100-yard dash, and they just couldn't do it. He outworks everyone. So it sounds too good to be true. This is a guy that I say, if there's going to be a statue put up from Georgia back-to-back championships, this is the guy. This is the first ballot Hall of Famer. This is the guy that should be representative, because this was the intangible. This was the X factor when they beat TCU 65-7 in the national championship game. I talked to one of the TCU defenders about it. I said, what in the world happened to you guys? He said, we couldn't get lined up against this guy. The whole game plan was designed to keep Brock Bowers in check. And Monken was running so much motion, and Bowers was, that they were discombobulated and out of sorts the whole game because they could not devise a scheme to stop Brock Bowers. Against Alabama in a championship game loss, Georgia threw the ball to Bowers 15 times. He caught 10 passes for 139 yards in a loss. That was how much they threw it to all the wide receivers combined. And Nick Saban, of all people, said this freshman. Nick Saban calling out a freshman opponent. So it sounds too good to be true. I know it does. You got to see it to believe it. You're looking at him. You're looking at the picture. You're saying this doesn't match. Why were other teams reluctant? Kyle Pitts. Another guy who was seemingly an impact tight end who didn't make much impact with the Falcons, at least not yet. And so how valuable can a tight end really be? I would just tell you that I don't think of Brock Bowers as a tight end so much as I think of him as more of an H-back, a guy that you can line up all over the field as a weapon, who can block, who can catch, who can run, and who's going to keep his nose out of trouble and be a locker room guy.
Mike, to all the NFL people I talked to, there were three guys that they said were just can't misses. There's other good prospects, but three can't misses. Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame, and Talise Fuaga, the offensive tackle from Oregon State. So I'm talking to an NFC general manager, and this is what he told me about Brock Bowers before the draft. He said if this guy had bulked up, he would have been the number one tackle. He loves contact like Joe Alt. He goes, you put the Joe Alt, Talise Fuaga tape in, he blocks with, now he's not as bulky as them, but if he had bulked up, he goes, but he loves to block as much as them. He goes, you put him as a wide receiver, and he's got the best hands in this draft with the speed to be a top wide receiver. He said, literally, you could put him at running back. And if he got enough reps, he goes, he's a Christian McCaffrey. He can catch, he can run. He literally told me, of those three guys you can't miss, and he said, Brock Bowers may be the most rounded player I have ever seen. Agree or disagree?
There's nothing he can't do. He's the consummate pro. He outworks everybody. He's a team guy. Like I said, Hondo, you run out of compliments for Brock, and you dial it back, and you just see a guy with an insatiable quest and a desire. You go back. He was a COVID. He was recruited during COVID, and he actually put out a recruiting tape. This guy was running hills and doing workouts, and that's what got George's attention. Was the hard work that this guy put in. And I want to say he might have had a year taken away from him in high school because of the COVID, because of the, of course, that was quite a crisis. But he comes into Georgia and right away, I mean, he's a plug and play guy. The way he was able to pick up the offense that fast. And again, just the character. I mean, this is not a guy that's going to get in front of the camera and impress anybody. It's just, that's not what he's going to do. He's going to be a man of few words. He's going to be somewhat, self-deprecating in terms of, his ability to carry interviews. That's just not where his interest is at. He just wants to play ball. He just wants to play football. He's very competitive. Kirby's got this deal, Hondo, where he walks around practice and he's on the microphone and he's always shouting out guys' names to keep everybody on edge. So-and-so, this drill, so-and-so, this drill. And he told a story about the time that he got Brock upset. I guess when Malachi Starks, who's a projected first-round safety next year in the draft, I guess there was a practice where Malachi had covered Brock on a couple routes. So Kirby called out Brock Bowers. Look at this. We got this freshman covering Brock Bowers. He's shutting him down today. And Kirby was laughing. He goes, and I could see Bowers on the sideline he just kind of starts twitching a little, like he gets a little uptight. Like he said, so the next day, Brck goes out there and just dominates practice because the guy cannot stand to lose. He, at the Georgia Pro Day, he went there. He didn't work out. He wanted to work out, but he had a slight pulled hamstring. And they're like, look, you're the top tight end on the board. You got nothing to gain by running. You got nothing to gain by working out. You need to sit this one out. Just like the combine. You go there to interview. If you're not 100% Brck, don't do it. It's driving him crazy. Same thing on the sideline. He's twitchy. He's angry. He's uptight. He wants to be on the field so bad. But the managers and the agents are saying, don't do it. You're not 100%. So what does he do instead? He holds a private workout day on April 10th, runs a 4.52. Hondo, he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to work out at all. But there was that part of him wanted to compete. That 4.52 would have been the second fastest 40 by any tight end in the draft. Carson Beck, who did not throw to the team during the pro day workouts, came off the sideline to throw to Brock Bowers. That's the kind of respect that Brck commands. Marius Mims was also at that workout. So he held a private work, didn't have to work out, but couldn't stand the thought or the notion that he'd be looked at as a guy that wasn't willing to compete and put his work on film and catch passes in front of, I think 15 or 16 pro teams were there. I don't know how you can find out. I'm guessing the Raiders were probably at that workout. I think it was April 10th. Your sources could probably find out if they were one of the 15 or 16 teams there. Most of the teams knew he wasn't going to fall. I don't know what happened with this. My guess is this crazy quarterback situation. These teams look so desperate, grasping quarterbacks that you and I know have no chance at all of becoming regular starters. What's affecting these guys' judgment? I don't know. But I think that probably has something to do with Brck falling into the Raiders' lap.
Totally agree. He is, I've said it many times, one of the best beat writers in all of America, and I'm just proud to call him my friend. I love him dearly. It's so good to spend time with you at the combine. Mike, do me a favor. Tell all of our listeners, where can they follow you on X?
Yeah, at Mike Griffith 32 on Twitter. You mentioned I write for the AJC's DogNation.com site. I do a podcast that's on YouTube, also on Dog Nation called On the Beat, and then I do a lot of one-off interviews with my friends. And certainly, you've been in my network a long time, Hondo. When I worked with you at Michigan State, worked with you, worked against you, whatever. Your stuff's always solid, and I like working with people that are solid and credible. You've always been that to me. You've always been a friend, straightforward, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on your program.
I appreciate you, buddy. That is the great Mike Griffith breaking down Brock Bowers. Now we turn our attention from talking about number one pick Brock Bowers and the Georgia Bulldogs with Mike Griffith, and we turn our attention to Tommy freaking Eichenberg. I gave him freaking. That's his new nickname because he's a freak who played for the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Raiders, literally. I mean, I'm still looking at it in unbelief. Fifth round pick, 149. Get this guy who is an absolute machine, tackling machine, practicing machine. He is all things football. So to get insight on him, let me tell you about our next guest. Brendan Gulick is my Sports Illustrated colleague. He's the beat writer that covers the Ohio State Buckeyes for Buckeyes Now. And I'm going to tell you how highly I think of this guy. When Sports Illustrated was looking to hire a guy to be the beat writer to cover Ohio State, I get a call from Brian Hoyer and Brian Hoyer's family saying to me, listen, this guy's one of the best reporters, and this is the guy you need. And so I went to SI and went to Bad Foreman and said, listen, you got the Hoyers, Brian, his dad, everybody talking about how great this guy is. They took one look and go, yeah, this guy's SI worthy. I'm so proud of it. He's made me look good every day. He's become a great friend and a colleague, the great Brendan Gulick. Brendan, how are you, friend?
I'm great, Hondo. That's awfully kind, man. Thanks for saying that. It's been a lot of fun to be doing this gig and certainly working alongside you here for the last couple of years.
Well, I think the world of you. You do such a great job covering Ohio State. I got a lot of friends that cover Ohio State, and I think they're really good, but I don't think anybody in the world's better than you. You just get to it. You've got a great staff. I love your stuff. So let's dig right in. Tommy freaking Eichenberg. You were the first one to tell me the story about him playing with two broken hands. Tell this story, would you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't even know exactly when and how he broke them because Tommy is so um, just cut and dry and quiet and doesn't like the attention. And, frankly, just he doesn't care about all the stuff that everybody seems to want to care about now when it comes to college football. It's almost like college football is this game, but there's this reality show. I mean, think Deion Sanders in Colorado. Like, in some regard, there's a lot of that in college football, anyways. Tommy couldn't be further away from any of that. I mean, the kid just wants to go play ball. And when he was actually asked, it was sort of brought to the media's attention that he was playing with two broken hands from one of his teammates. And then when Tommy was asked about it, he's like, "Yeah, I mean, they might be. I don't know. They feel fine." Like he doesn't care. He doesn't want to talk about it. He is. I want to go play football. I want to go be with the guys that I sacrifice with, that I work with. And there's really no distraction. It's like he was made in a lab. And to be honest with you, he and Cade Stover, who was Ohio State's tight end, was drafted by the Texans. I mean, those two kids are unique in this current climate. And they've been my favorite Buckeyes to cover. I've been lucky enough that I've at least known Tommy for much longer than his Ohio State career because I knew him back when he was at St. Ignatius in Cleveland. And he's always been this way. It's not like some act that's put on. It's not like he developed into this kind of kid. He's a really kind, good dude. And when he puts the pads on, he wants to kill you because that's his job as a middle linebacker. And he's tough as they come.
I got several questions I want to ask. First of all, I've heard he is a gym rat. He's the first one on the practice field, last one off. He doesn't leave the facility. This is a guy, there's no trouble. The only trouble is that they have to kick him out of the building, go get a life. Is that what you have found? I mean, you've covered him since high school.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, again, I don't want to say it again, but it's almost like he was built in a lab. I mean, I don't know him to have any like diehard hobbies and passions and interests outside of football. He just wants to play. He just wants to win. He just wants to compete. And it was very obvious that he enjoyed being around the facility in Columbus. That's his DNA, man. That's who he is. And I would imagine that, if your goal is I want to go play football professionally, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue.
All right. I want to ask you about him. I got some really good insight on him, but you're the one who will legitimize it or not.
No boy.
I was told by someone that I trust that when you first meet him, you almost think, all right, is he just one of those guys? He's all football. And then they go, and when you finally get him to talk, you realize he's smart as a tack.
Oh,
yeah. That he comes across as just what people used to think football players were: football, dumb, 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 because it's all football. And the guy goes, but what you don't understand is, he goes, if there was an IQ test at Ohio State, he'd probably have the highest one of those two. It's just his love is football, his passion, but he's super smart. Is that how you have found him to be?
unquestionably. I don't want to paint him as like a Neanderthal. He's not. He's not some
Right.
like see football, go tackle football. That's not Tommy. It's an undying love and passion for the game and a commitment to his teammates, a desire to be part of something bigger than himself. But I have found Tommy to be an extremely intelligent guy, and behind the hard shell, I think he's a really compassionate, kind, caring guy. Um, I just think he's so easy to root for because, when you talk about it from a fan perspective, you want to see guys that, that go out and play the game physical and
Mhm.
you watch guys in the NFL and there's this warrior like mentality, right? And Tommy exerts that. It's not put on, but that's how he plays. It's how he treats this. Um, but he comes from a really good family. His older brother is a really good dude playing offensive line down in Miami. I'll never forget Liam telling me, "Hey, I appreciate all the nice things you've said about me, but by the way, wait till my little brother gets here because he's going to be better than I am." And I don't know how you how you make that delineation right now. They're both in the NFL, and good for both of them. But yeah, I mean, look, Tommy is he's everything you would want in a guy that's going to go play the game the right way. And there's a reason why, he was the first Ohio State linebacker in conference history to win linebacker of the year in the Big Ten. And that's not because there haven't been other good linebackers. Of course there have. Ohio State's got a great lineage of linebackers, but the Big Ten didn't start giving out that award until 2011. And I think you could make the legitimate argument that Tommy Eichenberg's been the best linebacker at Ohio State over the last decade. He's a hell of a draft pick.
I was told he's the best linebacker to come out of Ohio State since AJ Hawk. Agree or disagree?
I'd buy that. Yeah, I would absolutely buy that. I mean, I think of Tommy in the same context as some of the all-time great Ohio State linebackers. And I know how disappointed he was that the end of his Ohio State career it didn't really go the way he wanted to. And I'm not even talking about the losses or Michigan or whatever. He had an elbow injury that kept him off the field for 3 of his final 4 games. And that was really, really hard on him. He felt like he was letting people down. And, if that kid can't be on the field because of an injury, if an athletic trainer or a doctor or whatever is literally saying you are not allowed to play, like that should tell you how bad an injury it was, because I guarantee you he would have played with one arm.
Now, let me tell you how smart Brendan is. I don't want to embarrass him, but it's truthful.
Oh boy.
When the Raiders picked Thayer Mumford in the 7th round, he said to me, he's going to make the 53 man. You were a buyer on Thayer from day one. He has shocked a lot of people. Most 7th rounders you hope make the practice squad. He has not only played, he's played a lot and even has some starts. What was it about Thayer you believed in?
I just think he had the right mindset. When you're drafted, I don't care if you're the first pick or the last pick. If you're drafted, you've got the skill set to be able to play. There's something there physically. And frankly, there's a lot of guys that go undrafted that are good enough physically to play. It's about opportunity. And you look at a guy that had the physical skill set. He's another guy that I think just approached things the right way. And, some of it is it's the development that Ohio State consistently, churns out guys that are ready for that opportunity. You don't see a ton of Ohio State guys totally flame out when they get to the NFL. I think back to actually what CJ Stroud said last year about adjusting to the NFL. Everybody thinks about it being this step up. CJ, if he wouldn't have played so well, it might have come across the wrong way, but he literally said, this is actually a little easier than what I was doing the last few years, because the expectations are placed at such a high level at Ohio State. They are developing professional football players. And in a guy like Thayer, I saw somebody that his teammates absolutely adored. And they love him and respect him. And you see the physical skill set, you just need the opportunity. And somewhere along the way, everybody gets some semblance of an opportunity. It's about what you do with it. And I just believed in my heart that Thayer was going to find a way to make the most of that. And I'm really happy for him.
He's a great Brendan Gulick. Brendan, would you do me a favor? Tell all the Raider fans, and some of them may be Buckeye fans or just want to follow you for updates. Can you give them your X where they can find you on X, please?
Yeah, it's Brendan Gulick 22, BRENDANGULICK 22. All of our stuff on Ohio State is over on si.com/college/Ohio State. And you can find the Buckeye Breakdown podcast on YouTube. That's where we do a lot of our video coverage.
Nobody better than this guy, Brendan Gulick. And now we go to a guy that you all know is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. I love him, trust him. I'm so blessed to call him my great friend. He is the head football coach at Arkansas State, the one and only, the great Butch Jones. We bring him back. Butch, it's great to have you on. The last time we were talking about memories with Nick, but now we're talking about something looking to the future. Last time it was backwards. One of your young men is coming to the desert. He's joining the silver and black. Jeff Foreman, the wide receiver. He exploded on the scene with a pro day. Just exploded with an amazing pro day. It's a young man that came in and really blossomed. Like everywhere you've been super successful because you are able to develop players. I go back and remind everybody, sitting in your office, you say to me, watch this. You call a kid in your office, a little known tight end. Now, this is after you had told me in the recruiting process, he's going to be a first round NFL tackle. And I'm like, you developed him number 1 overall to Kansas City. This is what you do. You are known throughout football as one of the best developers of player, and Jeff Foreman is one of those kids.
Well, really excited about him. And when you talk about maturation and total development, Hondo, I think that's what the Raiders are getting. I really believe that Jeff Foreman's best football days are ahead of him. But just the maturation in our football program. And this year, it's almost like a Travis Kelce moment that we had at Cincinnati. It really kind of clicked for him. And from a maturation process, from a physicality standpoint, from a toughness standpoint, not only, like I said, from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint as well. And he was probably our most consistent performer all year. And I think, he was very driven to do whatever it would take to get him this opportunity. And probably the biggest thing that I can say about him, besides, his skill set, is he was our gunner on our punt cover team, and he was our starter on our punt return team, and one of our best held up players in the core of that punt return. And he wanted to do that. He came to me starting in training camp, really in the off season, and said, what do I need to do to play in the National Football League? And we really kind of mapped out a blueprint, kind of an individual prescription plan, and he executed it. And it all started with special teams. And then when he started performing at a high level on special teams, you can see that confidence and you can see that growth and maturation in his game out on the perimeter playing receiver.
You mentioned it, and you were the coach at Cincinnati with Jason and Travis Kelce. You're the one that, Travis doesn't hide it. He thanks you. He credits you for what he became. And that's just facts. Those are Travis's word, not you. You don't do that with your players. You don't piggyback them, but it's the reality. You have always been, Antonio Brown. There's multiple players. You're one of the best developmental coaches in all of America. And I'm going to ask you point blank. The Raiders got one spot open for a receiver. Now, the guy's going to have to be a Swiss Army knife. He's going to have to do all of the special teams, going to have to do it all. You believe in Foreman. You think he's got a shot in this league, don't you?
I do. He's extremely driven. He's got a unique skill set, and I think he really put it on display with his pro day. He ran a 4.39. Some individuals had him at a 4.37. Some had him at a 4.41. So right around that. But really, Jeff is a self-made individual. And like I said, where I thought he took great growth in his maturation as a football player is from the physicality standpoint and the mentality standpoint. But Jeff's going to do whatever it takes to make a team. If it means all 4 core special teams, if it means doing the dirty work, if it means blocking on the perimeter at an elite level, Jeff is going to do whatever it takes.
That's really good stuff. All right. I can't let you go without bragging about Arkansas State. What a season last year. But what I love is in our friendship, we talk a lot that is just friends that we would never discuss. But you love that administration there. You love that university. And to me, everybody's on the same page. It's why the success, the bowl game, all of it. Tell me, let's look ahead to 24. How excited are you for this season at Arkansas State?
Well, really looking forward to it. And the nuances of college football, we're kind of navigating through the transfer portal right now as we speak. We are the 3rd youngest team in all of college football last year, but it's like we told our football team throughout the course of spring, we just can't be a year older. We have to be a year better. And I see that, our culture's in place, our mindset is in place. So I'm excited to see what lies ahead for this football team in the upcoming months, especially in summer training camp and then into the season. It's a tremendous challenge. We have to go on the road at the University of Michigan. We have to go on the road at Iowa State. And then we have a challenging first part of our schedule in terms of playing the elite teams in our conference. So we got to be ready to start fast.
He is the great Butch Jones, head football coach at Arkansas State. I'm Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated.